You will not believe how I discovered I wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding. It was one of those perfectly normal days, the kind where life is just rolling along, and then bam, one tiny little moment. One overheard sentence completely flips your entire world upside down, and that's exactly what happened to me. I really need to get this off my chest, something I've replayed in my mind probably 1,000 times. It was a Sunday, I think. Just a regular Sunday. I was at my parents' place. We usually had a family brunch, nothing fancy, just us. I was in the kitchen, helping Mom unload the dishwasher, the scent of coffee still hanging in the air. She stepped out to the porch to take a call, her voice a little lower than usual, almost a whisper. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, honestly, but our old house has thin walls, and some things, you just can't unhear them. Can you? I heard snippets, Alara's final dress fitting. Then something about table arrangements for the main hall. Alara, that's my younger sister. My baby sister, really. A dress fitting. A main hall. My mind started racing, trying to connect dots that just weren't making any sense. I mean, I knew she was serious with her boyfriend, Ken, but a wedding? A whole wedding being planned without me, her only sister, even knowing about it. It felt like a punch to the gut. A cold wave washing over me right there by the humming dishwasher. I remember standing there, a stack of plates in my hand, suddenly feeling like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Mom walked back in, a bright, slightly flustered smile on her face, completely oblivious. Everything all right, Lyra dear? She asked, bustling past me to grab a napkin. And in that moment, faced with her cheerful ignorance, the silence in my chest was deafening. I just nodded, a weak, stupid nod. What else could I do? Start screaming in the middle of Sunday brunch? That's not me. Or at least, it wasn't me back then. Asterisk, you know how they say your younger sibling is like your shadow growing up? That was Alara. From the moment she could walk, she was trailing behind me, with her arms outstretched, copying everything I did, from the way I tied my sneakers to the way I used to hum when brushing my teeth. She wasn't just my sister, she was mine to protect. When Dad passed away suddenly during our last summer in high school, everything changed. Mom collapsed into herself. The house turned into a quiet museum of grief, and I became whatever Alara needed me to be. Her ride to school, her math tutor, the one who sat in the hallway during her anxiety attacks, whispering, "You're okay, I'm here." Until her breathing steadied. I paid half her tuition for her first semester when she lost her scholarship, not because I was rolling in money, God knows I wasn't, but because the thought of her dropping out felt like another death in the family. I showed up, even when it cost me. There was this night, freshman year of hers. She called me thought Ken was seeing someone else. I stayed up until 3, listening, comforting, texting her inspirational memes because I knew she'd pretend to laugh just so she could start breathing again. And last winter, when she started getting panic attacks again and couldn't sleep, I ordered her a weighted blanket with express shipping. Didn't even tell her it was me. Just left it under her name with a handwritten card. You are safe. You are loved. No response. Not even a text. But I didn't care, or at least I told myself I didn't. It was enough to know she got it. So how do you go from being someone's emergency contact to being the person they forgot to invite? The worst part, there wasn't a fight. No falling out. Just silence. And in that silence, something cruel grew. Like I was quietly being erased, one favor at a time. I used to tell myself we were different from other sisters because we had survived things together. Loss, fear, change, and I believed that meant we'd always be close. But I guess I was wrong, and I hate how long it took me to realize that. 2 days. That's how long I waited before calling my mom. Not because I needed to cool down, but because I needed to hear her say it out loud. I dialed her around 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. She picked up on the second ring, bright as ever. "Morning, sweetheart." She chirped, like nothing in the world had shifted. Like my bones weren't still rattling from what I'd heard. "Hey Mom, quick question," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "Is Alara getting married?" Silence. The kind that doesn't land, it sinks. Then the sound of a drawer closing. Her tone flattening. "Yes, next month, actually. We assumed you were busy." Assumed I was busy. Not that I'd say no, not that I might be hurt, but that I wouldn't matter. I swallowed. "When were you going to tell me?" I asked. She gave that light chuckle, the one she uses when pretending something isn't a big deal. "Oh Lyra, don't be dramatic. It's just a small thing, nothing grand." Alara wanted it intimate. Just family. Just family. The phrase landed, like a slap, as if I wasn't. Exactly that. The sister who held her hand when she had nightmares. The one who spent 2 hours assembling IKEA furniture for her dorm room while she cried about homesickness. But I am family. Mom, I said quietly. Yes, of course you are, honey, but you're always traveling, and these things are just easier without complications. You understand, don't you? No, I didn't. And yet I said nothing. Because saying no would invite a debate. And she always won those by brushing off my pain as if it were lint on her blouse. Then she hit me with it. You're not mad, are you? That line. That manipulative sweetness that turned my feelings into inconveniences. We thought it'd be easier this way. That's what she said. And that was it. That was the moment, something in me. Fractured. Not broken, but reformed. Hardened. I got off the phone with a fake smile, still stuck to my voice. But when I hung up, I stared at my calendar. The weekend of the wedding was empty. No RSVP, no seat. Just a blank space where I was supposed to exist. So I didn't rage, I didn't cry. I booked a one-way ticket to Bergen, Norway. Didn't text, anyone didn't ask for advice. Just opened a browser tab, searched cabins with lakeside views, and clicked confirm booking. Because if I was going to be erased, I'd rather disappear on my own terms. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. No, I'll miss you texts. No Instagram countdowns. No dramatic goodbyes at the airport. Just one carry-on bag, a printed boarding pass, and a sticky note on my fridge that said, "Gone." The moment I stepped off the plane, the cold bit into my cheeks like a quiet slap of reality. The air felt thinner, sharper, as if it knew I didn't come here to relax. I didn't take pictures. I didn't post anything. I just followed signs through a silent, dim airport until I found the shuttle to my cabin. The drive out was long, empty stretches of snow-dusted hills, with trees standing like quiet sentries on either side of the road. The kind of silence you can feel in your teeth. It was the kind of silence that doesn't just hush your surroundings, but your thoughts. My cabin sat halfway up a hill overlooking a frozen lake. The man who handed me the keys didn't speak English well, and honestly, I was relieved. No questions. No small talk. No pretending I was okay. Inside, the place was small but warm. Wood-paneled walls, one narrow window, a stove with chipped paint. There was a kettle, a soft blanket folded over the arm of a chair, and a silence that felt so deliberate it almost had weight. This was not a vacation. This was an exhale. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat. For hours. The clock ticked like it had nowhere else to be. I made tea, then forgot it on the counter. I pulled out a book, read the same sentence 4 times, then closed it. I stared out the window at the gray lake until night swallowed it whole. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to calm. Not joy, not relief, just the quiet realization that the world could be still. And so could I. The next morning, I stepped outside barefoot and let the frost bite at my skin for a moment. Just to feel something physical that matched what was going on inside. Then I laughed, not a happy laugh. More like a huff of breath that said, "Of course, this is where I end up." That day, I didn't check my phone. I made oatmeal on the stove and ate it slowly, watching steam curl toward the ceiling like it had nowhere better to go. I wrote in a notebook. Not poetic lines, not a diary entry, just lists. Lists of things I didn't have to do here. Answer, texts, explain myself, pretend I was invited. No RSVP. No family brunch. No frozen smiles. Just me, and this cold, honest air that didn't care who I was. It started with a vibration. One single buzz in the dead quiet of the cabin. A notification. Nothing urgent, but after 2 days of silence, it felt like a shout. It was a message from Manan, my closest friend, the only one who hadn't pushed or pried before I left. She just texted, "Hope you're okay. Some wedding stuff is blowing up on Facebook, lol." I didn't answer. I turned off the screen, dropped the phone face down on the counter, and poured myself another cup of tea. But silence, once pierced, doesn't stitch itself back together so easily. A second buzz. Then a third. This time, not from Manan, my aunt. Then a college friend I hadn't talked to in years. Then a cousin who I knew was attending the wedding, all vague, all polite. "You're probably seeing this already. You must be glad you're not here. Wow. Just wow." None of them said what happened. But they didn't have to. The air had shifted. I could feel the tremors all the way from here. There was something wrong. Deeply wrong. I didn't go looking for the posts. I didn't scroll. I didn't ask. Instead, I pulled on my coat, stepped out into the snow, and walked down to the lake. The sky was pewter gray, heavy with something unsaid. The surface of the water rippled beneath sheets of half-formed ice, like it couldn't quite decide whether to freeze or move on. I sat on the bench. Same one as yesterday. This time, I brought my phone with me, and I took a photo, not posed, just my boots in the snow, the lake blurred behind. No caption. Within minutes, the scene views lit up. ILARA. My mom, a couple of her friends, my uncle's wife, all watching, all silent. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about being seen anymore. It was about reminding them that I existed, that while they were busy pretending I was invisible, I had learned how to thrive in plain sight. The next morning, something felt off before I even opened my eyes. It was the kind of tension you can't name, just a sense that the air was different, that the world had taken a breath but refused to let it out. The kind of quiet that only comes before a scream. I hadn't checked my phone in almost a day, but this time, I reached for it before I even put on my slippers. 17 missed notifications. A few from min-anh.1 from elara.4 from mom, and the rest. A scattering of names from the past. College friends, old neighbors, even a former coworker. My thumb hovered, uncertain. Then, almost out of muscle memory, I tapped the first message from Min-anh. Lyra, you need to see this. I don't know how to explain it. Just ... Brace yourself. There was a link. A video. 37 seconds long. No caption. I didn't want to open it. My stomach had already begun to churn. A low gnawing twist like my body knew before my brain did. But I tapped. The video started mid-scream. A bridesmaid in navy blue, high heels clacking against the floor, was hurling a wine glass across the room. People were gasping. Chairs scraping. Then a woman's voice, cracked and shaking. I was your best friend Alara. I trusted you, and you were with him the whole time. The camera wobbled, caught a flash of Elara's face, mascara streaked, mouth twisted in a mix of shock and guilt. And then him, Ken, frozen in place, like someone caught stealing. Another woman, Rachel, I realized suddenly. Alara's maid of honor stepped into view. Her voice clear, raw. You think I wouldn't find out? After you slept with my fiancé, the entire room exploded. Twist after twist, unfolding like a domino chain. A centerpiece got knocked over. A groomsman tried to grab Rachel's arm. She slapped him. Someone shouted, call the police. Someone else yelled, not here. Not now. The phone recording shook violently as the person filming ran for cover. But before it cut out, there was one last image. Ilara, in her ruined white gown, collapsed to the floor in a puddle of silk and sobs. I let the screen go black. The air in the cabin felt suddenly too warm, too close. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just sat by the window, watching snow begin to drift in lazy spirals outside. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like the one who had been left out. The morning after the wedding meltdown, my phone began vibrating before the sun had even risen. I let it buzz on the nightstand, not ready to return to that version of the world. But the names lighting up the screen forced me to look. Mom, Alara, Uncle Ron, Rosie, even Ken. It wasn't just messages anymore. It was begging, pleading, desperate punctuation marks in the form of voicemail bubbles. I didn't open them at first. I just wrapped myself tighter in the wool blanket, let the cold air settle into my bones. But when Rosie's message preview, read, she won't eat, she won't leave her room, I paused. Not because I felt guilty, but because I was surprised they thought I still had that kind of power. Then came the call from my mother. I let it ring, once, twice, 5 times. And then, because the silence between us had grown so loud it was echoing inside me, I picked up. Lyra, her voice cracked. She sounded like someone who'd been pretending for too long and suddenly forgot how. I'm here, I said flatly. A beat of silence. Then she's not okay, Alara. She keeps asking for you. Why? Because she's scared. She was scared enough to plan a wedding without me. Wasn't scared then. She's not that girl anymore, Mom whispered. Not after what happened. No, I thought. She's exactly that girl. She just got caught. Please come home, Mom said. We need you. There it was again. That same line. We need you. Not we love you. Not we miss you. Just need the one who holds the cracks together while everyone else breaks things. I'm not the fixer anymore, I said softly. Mom didn't speak. I could hear her breathing, uneven, unsure. Then a final whisper before the line cut, she won't make it through this without you. I put the phone down. Let it sit face down on the windowsill. Outside, the lake was frozen over again, crusted with the shimmer of new snow, and for the first time, I felt that the silence was not something I needed to fill. The calls stopped around noon. Not because they gave up, no. I think they just ran out of words. Or breath. Or excuses. The kind you can only recycle so many times before even you stop believing them. I sat on the cabin porch that afternoon with a mug of strong tea. Wrapped in the same gray sweater I'd worn 3 days in a row, the air smelled like pine and melting frost. Below me, the lake stretched out silent and silver, like a mirror too honest for anyone to look into. For the first time in a long time, I let myself ask the questions I'd been burying for years. What did it mean to be the strong one if it only ever meant being left behind? Who taught me that love was about service, not presence? And why had I been so scared of walking away until now? I wasn't angry anymore. Not the burning kind of anger, anyway. What was left felt colder, cleaner, like a bone finally set straight after years of healing wrong. I pulled out my journal, the one I'd brought but hadn't written in yet, pages still blank. I didn't write anything poetic, no metaphors, no revelations, just bullet points. No more phone calls I don't want to answer. No more apologies I have to beg for. No more pretending I'm fine just because it's easier for them. No more fixing what I didn't break. It hit me that I had spent so long surviving my family, I'd forgotten I was allowed to outgrow them. Not in cruelty, but in clarity. I don't want revenge. I don't want them to hurt the way I did. I just want space. And peace. And a life that doesn't revolve around being useful only when convenient. That evening, I lit a small candle. Not for anyone else, just for me. A quiet ritual of release. I whispered the words aloud, just once. You don't get to erase me anymore. I flew home the following week. No dramatic announcement, no cryptic social media post, just a return flight booked quietly, a suitcase repacked with sweaters that smelled faintly of smoke and pine. My apartment was exactly as I left it, mail stacked neatly, the orchid by the window, still alive, miraculously. I unpacked slowly, methodically. I didn't feel like I was returning to the same life. I was different now, even if the world hadn't noticed yet. My phone buzzed as I placed the last sweater in my drawer. A message from Alara. Not long, not heavy, just, "Can we talk? One miss. You?" I didn't respond right away. I sat with it, let it breathe. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who would have called back instantly, swallowed her pride, soothed everyone else before checking if she was bleeding. That girl was gone, and thank God. The next day I met her. Not because I owed it, because I chose it. We sat in a quiet park, the leaves already beginning to fall. She looked smaller than I remembered, or maybe I just stopped seeing her the way I used to. Someone who needed me to be whole. She apologized. Not in a perfect way, not with all the right words, but sincerely enough that I didn't have to carry it anymore. "I didn't think you'd care," she said, eyes wet. "You've always been so, strong. Like nothing hurts you." I smiled. Not bitterly, just honestly. Strong doesn't mean unbreakable, Alara. It just means I never had the room to fall apart. We didn't hug. We didn't cry into each other's shoulders. It wasn't that kind of ending. But we left that bench knowing something had shifted. And it wasn't just the season. That evening, I lit another candle in my apartment. The same one I lit in the cabin. I made a bowl of soup, curled into my favorite chair, and finally finished that book I'd started in Norway. The story ended, beautifully, quietly. Like mine, not all stories need fireworks. Some just need silence, closure, and a door you finally feel okay to shut. If this story touched you, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. More heartfelt stories are on the way, and your support means the world.